Let me ask you something. How many times have you said yes when your heart was screaming no? How many times have you smiled while silently breaking inside? In 2026, that ends because being too nice isn't kindness anymore. It's self-betrayal. Many people confuse being nice with being strong. They walk through life with a constant need to please everyone around them, smiling when they don't feel like it, agreeing when they don't mean it, and giving more than they can afford, not because they are genuinely kind, but because they are afraid of conflict, afraid of rejection, afraid of being disliked. This fear masquerades as kindness, and it quietly erodes the most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. True kindness comes from a place of abundance, not scarcity. When your actions are dictated by fear, you are not choosing generosity, you are choosing survival, and that is not nobility. It is self-betrayal. Fear-driven niceness shows up in every area of life. At work, you say yes to every task, drowning yourself in obligations, even when it compromises your priorities or sanity. And friends, you tolerate disrespect, ignore hurtful behavior, and excuse bad habits just to avoid tension. In love, you sacrifice your needs, bending over backwards to make someone else happy, even if it means losing your identity in the process. All of this is not kindness. It is a survival strategy. It is the body and mind responding to a deeply ingrained fear of being alone, being judged, or being rejected. And yet, the more you hide behind this fear, the less of yourself you actually live. The most dangerous part of being too nice is that it often goes unnoticed, even by yourself. You tell yourself that you are simply helpful or accommodating, that you are easy to get along with. But deep down, you feel frustrated, exhausted, and sometimes invisible. Your self-worth becomes tied to other people's approval. Every compliment you receive is a fleeting validation, and every slight, intentional or not, feels like a personal attack. When your self-esteem is hostage to external validation, your fear controls you, and no act of niceness can fill the void it creates. In truth, you are giving power away to people, to circumstances, and to a world that does not necessarily care whether you bend or break. Fear disguised as kindness also undermines your growth. Growth is uncomfortable. It requires confrontation, difficult conversations, and the ability to stand firm in your truth. But when fear drives your behavior, you avoid these challenges, you smooth over tension, you delay difficult decisions, and you choose the easiest path, pleasing others at the expense of your own evolution. Your fear-based niceness becomes a cage. It may feel safe and socially acceptable, but it keeps you from stepping into your full potential. You may be liked, but you are not respected. You may be accepted, but you are not powerful. You may appear calm on the surface, but underneath, your fear is quietly eating away at your confidence, your purpose, and your drive. Furthermore, fear-driven niceness distorts relationships. When you are too nice out of fear, people begin to take advantage of your goodwill. They sense the hesitation, the reluctance to set boundaries, the constant avoidance of conflict, and they exploit it. This exploitation doesn't just hurt your relationships. It shapes them entirely. Genuine connections are built on honesty, respect, and mutual understanding. If you are constantly bending to avoid rejection or discomfort, you create relationships that are one-sided, shallow, and unfulfilling. True kindness, on the other hand, is rooted in strength. It sets limits without apology and communicates clearly without intimidation. Fear-based niceness is silent. Authentic kindness speaks with confidence. Finally, recognizing fear masquerading as kindness is the first step toward liberation. It requires brutal honesty with yourself. Ask yourself, why did I say yes to this? Am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I refuse? Is my niceness creating respect or resentment? The answers are rarely comfortable. They often reveal patterns of behavior you've repeated for years without noticing. But here's the truth: once you identify fear in your actions, you gain power. You reclaim agency over your choices. You learn that you can be kind without being weak, generous without being exploited, and compassionate without being manipulated. You learn that strength and niceness are not mutually exclusive, but fear and niceness often are. Too often, we trade our self-respect for the fleeting comfort of being liked. We water down our opinions, hide our truths, and bend our actions to match what others want to hear, all in the name of approval. But approval is temporary. It is conditional. And when your value is tied to someone else's opinion, you surrender your power. Self-respect, however, is eternal. It doesn't fluctuate with applause or criticism. It doesn't care if someone approves, disagrees, or misunderstands you. It is grounded, unwavering, and non-negotiable. In 2026, the first rule of survival, growth, and personal power is simple: respect yourself before you ask anyone else to. External approval can feel like oxygen to someone who is used to people pleasing. Every thank you and every smile becomes a drug. You become addicted to validation, constantly seeking reassurance that you are doing enough, saying enough, being enough. But the problem is, no one else's approval can fill the space inside you. No compliment, no pat on the back, no nod of agreement can replace the feeling of integrity that comes from honoring yourself first. Self-respect is your internal compass. External approval is a compass made by someone else, pointing wherever they want you to go. When you follow their compass, you lose your direction and you slowly forget who you are. Choosing self-respect over approval is not about arrogance or defiance. It is about clarity. It means knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone devalue it. It means standing by your principles, even when it makes others uncomfortable. It means being willing to walk alone rather than compromise your integrity. People who chase approval will always find themselves exhausted, frustrated, and resentful. People who honor self-respect first move with confidence, speak with authenticity, and act with purpose. The difference is invisible on the surface, but monumental in life. Self-respect shapes the way others see you. When you set boundaries, hold firm to your convictions, and refuse to bend for every opinion, you are silently teaching the world how to treat you. Respect is not demanded. It is earned through consistency, integrity, and strength. People notice when you value yourself because you stop apologizing for existing, and they begin to treat you differently. The truth is, the world does not owe you approval. It does not owe you understanding, but it cannot ignore self-respect. Once you claim it, you change the dynamics of every relationship, every encounter, and every negotiation you enter. Fear of disapproval keeps people trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. They never take risks, never voice their ideas, never stand up for what is right. Approval becomes a cage disguised as a reward. But when you prioritize self-respect, risk becomes an ally. Speaking up, refusing to comply with injustice, saying no when it matters, all of these become acts of freedom, not rebellion. You stop being a passenger in your own life, waiting for permission to exist fully. You start steering the wheel, and the road may be lonely at times, but it is yours entirely. Finally, choosing self-respect first transforms every decision you make. You begin to evaluate opportunities, relationships, and commitments not by how they will make others perceive you, but by how they align with your values, your energy, and your purpose. The discomfort of disappointing someone else pales in comparison to the satisfaction of honoring yourself. It is not selfishness. It is self-preservation. Every yes that compromises your integrity is a silent betrayal. Every no that protects your dignity is a declaration of power. When you embrace self-respect over external approval, you create a life that is not defined by others' expectations, but by your own unwavering standards. Many people fear setting boundaries because they've been conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish or that protecting their time and energy is rude. From a young age, we are taught to accommodate others, to keep the peace, and to avoid rocking the boat. But here's the truth: boundaries are not rudeness. They are the guardrails of a healthy life. They are the invisible walls that protect your mind, your body, and your spirit from being drained, exploited, or manipulated. Without them, you give away pieces of yourself until there's nothing left to give. And no act of niceness can ever replace the power of clearly defined boundaries. Boundaries are a declaration of self-respect. They communicate to the world and to yourself what is acceptable and what is not. They are the silent force that tells others how you expect to be treated. When you enforce boundaries, you are not punishing anyone. You are preserving your life and your energy. People may push against them at first. They may test the limits. That's normal. But the ones who truly matter will respect them, and the ones who do not will reveal themselves. Boundaries act as a filter, allowing only the people, opportunities that align with your values to enter your space. Fear often keeps people from setting boundaries. They worry about confrontation, about being disliked, or about disappointing others. But consider this: every time you fail to assert a boundary, you are quietly teaching people that your limits don't matter. You are saying, it's okay to take from me, to disrespect me, to drain me. And while it may bring temporary comfort or avoid conflict, the long-term cost is far greater: resentment, burnout, and loss of self-worth. True courage lies not in avoiding confrontation, but in standing firm in your truth, regardless of the discomfort it may create. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They are about saying yes to yourself. When you protect your time, energy, and peace, you are making space for growth, creativity, and focus. You are prioritizing the things that actually matter rather than reacting to every demand or expectation thrown your way. Setting boundaries allows you to show up fully where it counts without being distracted, exhausted, or overextended. They are a declaration that your life is yours to manage and that you will not allow anyone to steal your power under the guise of friendship, duty, or obligation. Another critical aspect of boundaries is consistency. A boundary is only effective when it is enforced without exception. If you allow exceptions, you weaken its power and invite manipulation. People will quickly learn where your limits bend and exploit the cracks. Strength in boundaries is quiet, calm, and unwavering. You do not have to shout, argue, or justify yourself endlessly. You simply hold your line with confidence and clarity. Over time, the world begins to adjust, and your boundaries transform your relationships, your work, and your overall sense of freedom. They create an environment where respect is automatic because it is clearly defined. Finally, understand that boundaries are a reflection of your self-worth, not your worthiness of love or acceptance. You do not need to explain them to anyone, apologize for them, or feel guilty for enforcing them. They are the natural consequence of knowing what you deserve and refusing to settle for less. Life will challenge your boundaries constantly. Friends, family, colleagues, and even strangers may push back. But every time you stand firm, you reinforce a fundamental truth: you are the gatekeeper of your own life. Boundaries are not rudeness. They are your armor, your compass, and your silent declaration that you value yourself above the fleeting comfort of approval. All too often, we dim our light to make others feel comfortable. We shrink our ideas, silence our opinions, hide our talents, and even hide parts of our personality just to avoid making someone else uncomfortable. We do it in classrooms, at work, in friendships, and in love. But here's the truth. The world does not need smaller versions of you. The world does not need you apologizing for your existence, bending to avoid friction, or sacrificing your essence to keep others at ease. Every time you shrink, you betray your potential and you signal to yourself that your life is less important than someone else's comfort. Shrinking starts quietly. You downplay your achievements in fear of envy. You withhold your thoughts in fear of disagreement. You even compromise your values to avoid confrontation. And over time, this habit becomes so ingrained that it feels natural, almost virtuous. But make no mistake, shrinking is not humility. It is fear masquerading as humility. When you shrink, you teach the world that your presence is negotiable, that your voice is optional, and that your dreams are expendable. And the most tragic part, you also teach yourself to accept less than you deserve, to settle for mediocrity, and to suppress the fire burning within you. The cost of shrinking is invisible at first, but it accumulates relentlessly. You may feel polite and agreeable on the outside, but internally frustration, resentment, and regret build. Opportunities slip away because you refuse to ask for them. Relationships stagnate because you cannot show your true self. Your mind and body grow tired from constantly monitoring how others will react to your presence. And worst of all, the world misses out on your brilliance. Your ideas, your energy, and your vision were never meant to be confined by other people's comfort zones. They were meant to expand, to inspire, and to leave a mark. Shrinking also erodes confidence. Every time you hold back, you reinforce the idea that your opinions, dreams, or needs are secondary. Your self-esteem becomes tethered to the reactions of others rather than anchored in your own truth. And when your confidence is conditional, it wavers with every disagreement, critique, or moment of disapproval. But the people who shape the world, the leaders, the innovators, the creators, do not wait for comfort. They do not reduce themselves to make others feel safe. They speak their truth, take up space, and push boundaries. And by doing so, they create respect, influence, and momentum that cannot be achieved by shrinking. Courage is the antidote to shrinking. Courage is the decision to show up fully, unapologetically, even when it makes others uncomfortable. It is the willingness to claim your space, voice your ideas, and live authentically, regardless of what anyone thinks. This does not mean being reckless or inconsiderate. It means being brave enough to honor yourself while navigating the world with clarity. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you grow stronger. You inspire others to do the same, and you begin to attract relationships, opportunities, and experiences that respect and amplify your true self. Finally, refusing to shrink is a declaration of ownership over your life. It is a refusal to be diminished to suit someone else's expectations. It is a recognition that your energy, your voice, and your presence are valuable, not negotiable. Life is not a rehearsal where you practice being small. It is a stage, and you were meant to take up space, to shine, and to lead with authenticity. Stop dimming your light. Stop apologizing for your existence. Stop bending to the comfort of others. In 2026, the world needs your full presence, and the only way to give it is to stop shrinking and start standing tall in every moment. Kindness is a virtue, but it is not a shield. It is not armor against manipulation, and it is not a guarantee of respect. When kindness is paired with weakness, it becomes a gateway for exploitation. Many people believe that being nice at all costs is the ultimate expression of character, that if they constantly give, forgive, and accommodate, the world will reward them. But the harsh truth is this: without strength, without boundaries, and without self-respect, kindness becomes a weapon others wield against you rather than a gift you choose to give. The problem begins subtly. You say yes when you mean no. You overextend your help to someone who doesn't appreciate it. You forgive behaviors that harm you repeatedly, convincing yourself it is compassion. Over time, these actions train people around you to expect generosity without reciprocity. Your kindness becomes a predictable pattern that others exploit, taking and taking while giving little or nothing in return. And often you barely notice because your heart tells you that helping is noble, yet your heart alone cannot protect you from being used. Exploitation thrives on invisibility and guilt. People who exploit the kind will not appear aggressive or malicious. They will manipulate your emotions, play on your empathy, or silently resent your refusals. And because your kindness has been unaccompanied by strength, you will blame yourself. Maybe I should have done more. You think, maybe I am not trying hard enough. This internalization is exactly what makes fear-driven kindness so dangerous. The more you give without asserting your worth, the more hollow your generosity becomes, and the more you lose yourself in the process. Strength, however, transforms kindness into power. Strength is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is the ability to give, help, and forgive without surrendering your integrity or allowing abuse. When you are strong, your kindness is intentional, deliberate, and protected by boundaries. You can say yes when you truly want to help, and no when it threatens your energy or values. You can be compassionate without being manipulated. You can be loving without being a doormat. Strength allows your generosity to shine without costing you your dignity. Without strength, kindness is also self-limiting. Every time you let someone take advantage of your generosity, you reinforce a belief that your worth is measured by what you provide rather than who you are. You train yourself to tolerate disrespect, tolerate manipulation, and tolerate imbalance, convincing yourself that this is the cost of being a good person. But the reality is that real influence, respect, and fulfillment come not from constant giving alone, but from the combination of generosity and firmness. Those who master this balance move through life with purpose, and their kindness carries weight because it is never taken for granted. Finally, understand that strength protects the very virtue that makes you admirable. When you cultivate both kindness and strength, you become unshakable. You can give without losing, forgive without being weak, and love without being taken for granted. You stop attracting people who drain you and start attracting those who value, respect, and honor your presence. Strength is not oppositional to kindness. It is its amplifier. It ensures that your generosity is not exploited, your empathy is not mistaken for weakness, and your heart is never a target for those who would take advantage of it. In 2026, choose to combine compassion with courage. Give fully, but never at the expense of your power. Life moves fast, and too often we let it sweep us along without intention. We chase people's approval, react to every demand, and allow distractions to dictate our energy. But in 2026, the choice is clear. It is time to take control of your life and prioritize the three pillars that truly matter: power, peace, and purpose. These are not abstract concepts or luxury goals. They are survival tools. They determine the quality of your relationships, the trajectory of your career, and the depth of your fulfillment. Without them, your life becomes a reactive series of obligations. With them, your life becomes a deliberate, unstoppable force. Power begins with self-awareness. It is the recognition that your choices, actions, and words carry weight. When you cultivate personal power, you stop being manipulated by the whims, opinions, or expectations of others. You understand that saying no is not rejection, but protection. You understand that setting boundaries is not rudeness, but intelligence. You understand that your time and energy are precious resources that must be invested wisely. Power is the ability to act without fear, to command respect without demanding it, and to influence your world without compromising your principles. It is not domination over others. It is mastery over yourself. Peace is the second pillar, and it is just as essential as power. Inner peace comes from clarity, boundaries, and self-respect. It is the calm that persists even when the world is chaotic. It is the quiet confidence that you are aligned with your values and moving in the right direction. Without peace, power becomes aggressive and purpose becomes hollow. People who lack peace are constantly reacting, overthinking, and overextending themselves in futile attempts to gain approval. But peace allows you to move deliberately, respond instead of react, and maintain equilibrium even under pressure. In 2026, cultivating peace is an act of resistance against the constant noise, manipulation, and distraction of the world. Purpose is the third pillar, and it gives meaning to both power and peace. Without purpose, you are like a ship without a compass, moving, but ultimately going nowhere. Purpose requires clarity of vision, courage to pursue it, and discipline to stay consistent. It is the fuel that drives every decision, every sacrifice, and every risk you take. When you operate from purpose, your power is directed, your peace is protected, and your actions have impact. Purpose transforms effort into legacy and intention into results. In 2026, the question is not, what will I do today? But what will I build, protect, and contribute that aligns with my purpose? Prioritizing these three pillars requires choices, sometimes uncomfortable ones. It means saying no to distractions, toxic people, and unaligned opportunities. It means being willing to be misunderstood or challenged because you refuse to compromise your integrity. It means stepping into situations where your full energy and focus are required instead of diluting yourself for convenience or comfort. In this world, people pleasing and over-accommodation are the enemies of progress. By prioritizing power, peace, and purpose, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your identity, and you begin to live a life designed by your own vision rather than dictated by the expectations of others. Finally, understanding these pillars is not theoretical, it is actionable. Power, peace, and purpose must be nurtured daily. They are reflected in the choices you make when no one is watching. They are measured by the boundaries you enforce, the clarity with which you speak, and the courage with which you act. In 2026, you can no longer afford to drift, defer, or dilute yourself. You must invest in your power, protect your peace, and pursue your purpose relentlessly. Because when you align these three forces, you stop being at the mercy of the world, and you start commanding your life with authority, dignity, and focus. Power, peace, and purpose are not luxuries. They are necessities. They determine how others perceive you, how challenges affect you, and how fulfilled you feel at the end of the day. If you neglect them, life will sweep you along, leaving regret, resentment, and exhaustion in its wake. But if you prioritize them, you become unshakable. You create momentum, influence, and clarity. You stand firm, move decisively, and live intentionally. In 2026, the ultimate choice is yours. Continue being overly accommodating, reactive, and diffused, or step into the alignment of power, peace, and purpose, and finally live the life you were meant to command. So here's the truth: being too nice is no longer a virtue, it's a trap. It keeps you small, exhausted, and invisible. But in 2026, you have a choice. You can continue to dim your light for others, or you can rise unapologetically and claim the life that was always meant for you. Respect yourself first. Set boundaries that protect your energy. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Be kind, yes, but let your kindness be paired with strength. Live intentionally with power, peace, and purpose guiding every choice. Because the world doesn't reward people who are merely available. It respects those who are intentional. It notices those who have standards, courage, and clarity. It listens to those who refuse to be silent and act with conviction. And here's the most important part. When you stop being too nice, when you stop letting fear dictate your actions, when you stop sacrificing yourself for the comfort of others, you don't just change your life. You change the energy in every room you enter. You inspire those around you to stand taller, speak louder, and honor their own worth. 2026, let your no be firm. Yes, be intentional. Let your life reflect your standards, your values, and your power. Stand tall. Speak with conviction, move with purpose, and never, ever apologize for being the person the world needs you to be, the best version of you, because the world isn't changed by the too nice or the silent. It's changed by the bold, the strong, and the unapologetically alive, and that world begins with you.